Hey guys, before we get started on today's video, I want to make mention of a friend of mine, Greg Wright. He has started his own business called Wright Property Management, and he has just recently started a YouTube channel called 60 to 60. Now, I will include a link to Greg's channel in the description here, and you'll see it running along the bottom underneath here too. But just to make it easier, have a look at the link in the description. Now, Greg is just getting started with YouTube, and I know he's going to do a great job. Greg is a great guy, very determined guy. He retired from the same place I did. And yet, unlike me, he's gone looking for work. I do everything I can to avoid it. But anyway, have a look at his channel, subscribe and like his videos, and I have no doubt that you'll enjoy them. All right, thanks very much, guys. Let's get on with our video. So we did have some snow last night, not a huge amount, but it was cool enough that everything has stayed pretty fluffy, which is good. So today we're going to get the snowblower out that's attached to the front of the John Deere lawn tractor. And while we're doing this stuff, we'll kind of go over equipment setup and that kind of thing, just in case you guys are curious as to how I managed to keep this stuff running. So let's go have a look at the John Deere tractor. So there's the tractor tucked away here in the garden shed. Now these things can be a challenge to run. So what I have done, because I have hydro in this shed, is when I know there is a storm coming or snow coming, I have an infrared heat lamp that I turn on over top of the motor. And the other thing that is plugged in all the time here is the battery has a battery warming blanket around it. So it's plugged in over at the side here with the blue extension cord. So it is plugged in all the time. When this thing's not running, the battery warmer is plugged in. That's just to help protect the battery. Now this tractor is set up with my 44-inch John Deere snowblower on the front of it, and it really throws the snow. When it's light, you'll get a chance to see that. And you saw me in an earlier video setting this thing up for winter. So it has got turf tires on it, which means very, very small tread. And as soon as you get out in the snow, that really shallow tread fills instantly and just turns to slicks. So I've got chains on the back to drive it, along with weights to help drive it. And I have chains on the front tires. Now it's not four-wheel drive, but when this thing's carrying the load of the snowblower and driving around in snow, steering it is a challenge. So these chains on the front are for nothing more than to help get it to grab on to steer. And that just makes it so much easier. I was really surprised at how big of a difference it makes. So one of the drawbacks of the snowblower, besides the fact that the snow does need to be fairly light, is that it throws up one heck of a cloud. So I have a helmet that I wear with a full visor. It's a snowmobile helmet, and that just keeps the snow out of my face, makes it much easier. So let's get this beast running, and we'll head out and I'll show you how well it works. So the snowblower does just a beautiful job. And one of the great advantages, of course, to a snowblower is that you don't have banks left from it. It just throws everything out of the way. And as you saw, this thing does really throw it a good distance. You know, there's 24 horsepower in the tractor. So when the snow is the right condition, it works really, really well. So the next step here will be to continue, but with the ATV. But let's look at a couple of the issues that we have with the John Deere. So the issue that happens is you get all this snow blowing over top of the hood, and some of it does go in through these vents. And what I have had happen in the past is this little breather right here will get clogged up with snow. And if you don't clean it off properly on the day that you use it, you can see there's some snow there now. If you don't clean it off properly on the day that you use it, this freezes up. And then the next time you start the tractor, you don't have proper throttle control. The throttle will just run wild, as in over rev something terrible. So important thing to do with this is to make sure you brush off all the snow thoroughly before you actually put it away. And of course, with me now having the shed to put it in, that really does take care of a lot of the issues. The snow will get melted off and everything will be ready for the next time it's needed. So we'll get this cleaned up, and then we'll head out to the shop and have a look at the ATV and get it rolling. So there's the lawn tractor all cleaned off. You don't want to leave all this stuff on here to ice up. So while we're up here, the lawn tractor has now had its run. I'm going to uncover our big generator. So I have got an 8,000 watt generator sitting here. It peaks at 10,000. We'll handle that briefly, but its running capacity is 8,000 watts. So you've seen me with this before. It does pretty much run the house when we have power failures, but it has a carburetor like the tractor has a carburetor. So what we do need to do every once in a while is run these things. And you also want to make sure that the fuel you're putting in it, if you keep the fuel for any time at all, as in more than a couple of weeks, you want to have fuel stabilizer. I use Sta-Bil fuel stabilizer in it, and it has worked very well for me. I've had no issues with that. So it's been a week, so we're going to uncover this. There's the battery blanket that I have. Now that is not really used for the battery. It just lays on top of the motor to help keep it warm, to make sure in an emergency everything is kind of warmed up and the generator will start relatively easy. So let's get the battery blanket out of there and get this started, and we'll let it run for a couple of minutes. Okay, let's see how this starts. So the next piece of equipment that we're going to use is the ATV. Now, as I have mentioned before, the ATV, you know, it is getting old. It doesn't like starting when it's cold. So as with the lawn tractor, I do keep an eye on the weather, and I take measures to try and help make it start easier on colder mornings. So I had the oil-filled heater here sitting beside it overnight last night. It is still pretty cool in here. It's just barely above freezing. And the other thing, of course, as I've mentioned before, it has a new battery in it. And I do have this battery keeper plugged in over here. So I don't put a battery blanket on it, because the battery keeper that keeps the battery at its peak performance here, it shouldn't really need the battery blanket. And according to the Honda dealership, this type of battery handles this battery keeper without any trouble. Whereas the battery in the lawn tractor, it's a smaller battery yet, and not anywhere near as powerful as these batteries. It needs a little extra boost in the battery blanket, and the battery keeper does tend to burn cells out in the batteries, in the smaller batteries like the one in the lawn tractor. So let's see how this thing starts up. Okay, we're all set. Let's see what happens. Almost. There we go. So that's it for the ATV. We're going to put it away now. The other thing that I wanted to mention about the ATV, yeah, this is an older machine. I've had it since, well, it's 10 years old. So when I bought it, they did have larger engines available. This is a 500cc. I was looking at a bigger engine when I initially bought this, but anything that had a bigger engine also had independent suspension in the rear as well as the front. Now, one of the things that I found in my research is that type of suspension is just not that good if you're planning on using the ATV for a lot of pulling. And that was the plan for this, and that is what I do with it. I'm not out trail riding with it or anything like that. It's a workhorse. So I did buy the solid rear axle and with the 500cc engine, and it has got a lot of pulling power. It has done really well. I've been quite pleased with that. I have heard of other issues with the independent suspension getting busted because things not being hooked up properly and the torque on it from the load, that type of thing, and the amount of horsepower that the motor puts out. The suspension just couldn't take it, and it just simply busted it. So I haven't had any trouble with this whatsoever except one dead battery now and the fact that it doesn't like starting in the mornings. On cold mornings. Neither do I. So we're going to put this away and let's go out and get the tractor started. So let's see how we start up here. So we'll give it a little bit of fuel, just a bit. Glow plugs for 1, 2, 3. All right, let's go clear some snow. So we're out at the end of the driveway here. So the idea is the snow plow is coming along here, and as it's coming along, it's pushing a lot of snow, and it pushes it into the end of the driveway. So what I try to do is keep pushing this back to keep a nice wide edge. So as the snow plow comes along, it's coming along there and it's dropping a lot of its snow before it actually gets to the front of the driveway. So that works pretty good. So that's what we're going to do right now, is push this snow back. All right, so just like that, doesn't take much to do, and it really makes a huge difference to how much snow ends up in the end of the driveway. So we're going to do a little bit of touching up with this in different spots and then put it away. And that is going to be it for today's video. I know it's something a little bit different. I just thought I would give you guys a little more detail as to what it is I do to help take care of the property in the winter and to keep things clear. So we've got lots of equipment, lots of different ways to keep it running. I hope I was able to give you one or two tips that might be helpful to you. If you have anything to be helpful to me, I would be very happy to hear it. All right, guys, so thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you out on the trail next time.